We're looking at a giant war in February right now. Currently, that's the projections with the top people on the earth who claim they're not with the New World Order Combine. Is war in February. And this is the type of time, like right before World War I, right before World War II, when everything kicks off.
At this point in time, is anybody surprised that Alex Jones called it again? What's up, guys? John Claymore here, /Commander33. This video right here will be going on both channels later on this afternoon. I know I'm doing this video a little bit early, but I had to take this video and I had to delete it last week. The reason why is because the video that was set to come out was based on some pretty bad intel, meaning that later on, what I have talked about in that video was later on found to be untrue. That's called the fog of war. This type of thing happens. Now, this video right here is not going to be talking so much about the propaganda wars or the bad takes. That right there will be discussed much further in video 3, which will be out tomorrow. This video here will be discussing more along the lines of the situation on the ground and what to expect. Now, I'm pretty sure by now you guys have heard that Vladimir Putin has decided to put his troops on full nuclear alert, or at least the Russian state TV is actually doing that. But let me go ahead and explain to you guys right now that I think that this right here is a tactic to escalate the situation in order to get it to de-escalate. I'll explain right here in a second. So he does this right here on the heels of actually calling for a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine and Belarus. Belarus, by the way, is on Vladimir Putin's side at this moment in time. They are actually there right now trying to invade Ukraine as well. And I think that what's going on is that Putin did not expect Ukraine to put up the resistance that they've put up. I mean, by the way, Ukraine's been at Russia for a while now. For about 10 or 11 years, they've actually been prepping for this fight. So Ukraine being able to put up a bit of a resistance does not surprise me. I mean, they're handing out rifles to their civilians, of course, in defense of the motherland. But we're going to go ahead and dive into that much further. Before we do that, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys share this video, sound off in the comment section, and let's go ahead and dive into this. I really, truly want to get you guys' thoughts, too. So here's the deal. They call a ceasefire meeting is what they call for, okay? This right here is when Vladimir Putin is saying, look, we want a ceasefire right now before this entire ordeal gets much worse. By the way, I get the impression from Ukraine that they do not want U.S. personnel there. And by the way, I'll discuss that here in a second after this clip I'm about to show you guys from the other day when Biden was answering questions. I'll show you that in a second. But the fact that Putin is doing this tells me that Ukraine is putting up a better fight than was actually originally thought of. I mean, they released this image today of exactly the amount of Russian losses that were inflicted upon by Ukraine itself. And I'm pretty sure that Vladimir Putin is looking at the situation saying, look, I want Ukraine. I want to obviously win this fight. I want to obviously win this war. But this is not working out the way I thought it was going to work out. Well, the biggest reason why it's not working out is because Russia really and truly has not been at war with anyone for a while. This is kind of like the first big operation they have done since Georgia, and Georgia wasn't even that big of an operation itself, which, by the way, would be the first time they've had anything major happen since Afghanistan, and of course, we know how that worked out for Russia. You see, it is my impression that this entire ordeal is just going to be one giant proxy war. That right here is what we are seeing at this moment in time as a war that's about to be, for the most part, a conflict that's just going to continue to rage on. Russia has never been good at this. Now, what Russia has been good at historically has been like, for example, when their nation gets invaded, like Operation Barbarossa, or like Stalingrad, or like, what else have we got? We've got the Grand Armée, Napoleon's march on Russia. Anytime Russia's ever been marched upon, they've always been successful. But when they do these proxy wars, they end up losing these proxy wars, and they end up blowing it, if you guys know what I'm saying. They end up wasting men and material. And by the way, this will be very embarrassing for Putin, considering the fact that now the Russian ruble is down 30%, which, by the way, I'll talk about a little bit more in the second half of this video. But when asked about nuclear weapons, when asked about how this thing could go, this right here was Biden's answer.
Clearly have not been enough to deter Vladimir Putin to this point. What is going to stop him? How and when does this end? And do you see him trying to go beyond Ukraine? And a second question I'll just give to you now. This statement that he gave last night, the threat that he gave, the West will face consequences greater than any you have faced in history. Is he threatening a nuclear strike?
I have no idea what he's threatening. I know what he has done, number one. And number two, no one expected the sanctions to prevent anything from happening. This is going to take time, and we have to show resolve so he knows what's coming. And so the people of Russia know what he's brought on them. That's what this is all about. This is going to take time. It's not going to occur. He's going to say, oh, my God, these sanctions are coming. I'm going to stand down. He's going to test the resolve of the West to see if we stay together, and we will. We will, and it will impose significant cost.
Not exactly a comforting answer. I mean, wouldn't it be better if you would say, look, we're prepared for all contingencies? By the way, Russia does have a very, very large nuclear stockpile, but our weapons are a little bit more accurate than theirs, and they are a little bit better. Now, granted, this is if it goes nuclear, that's still pretty bad, but there's something that's got to be addressed here. And I've mentioned this on several occasions, that I think that the more you sanction Vladimir Putin, the more he's going to dig in, the more desperate he's going to get. As I said in the previous video, there's this great, big, giant mass of land in Russia that is yet to be mined. Of course, mining those lands would bring you the metals, the materials. And by the way, Putin already controls a very, very heavy portion of the world's oil supply, of which we're still getting our oil from, because slow, creepy, old, dumb Joe decided to cut our oil production with Canada with the Keystone Pipeline. That right there is the reason why your gas prices have been steadily going up further and further and further. And I know steady is maybe not the right word, but they've actually, like I said, they've been steadily going up the whole time. People are just now beginning to feel it, because their pocketbooks are really and truly starting to get actual empty. People's bank accounts are starting to completely dwindle. And when you compile that right there with the actual inflationary area of the product, like, for example, a can of baked beans, for example. I used to pay $1 for a can of Bush's baked beans. Now it's $1.58, if you guys know what I'm saying. The longer this situation goes on, the worse our economy is going to get. The worse the inflation is going to go up. So if Joe was smart, what he would do is he would reissue the permits to the Keystone Pipeline. That way it would actually bring our gas down probably by about $1 a gallon. But for whatever reason, he doesn't want to do that, because he's pandering to 6% of the population, which of course is a big part of his base, that whole radical progressive base. And by the way, Bill O'Reilly was on Glenn Beck the other night. He made some very, very good points about this. By the way, I'll also be leaving that video in the comment section as well, because I think you guys need to hear what Bill O'Reilly said, because he's actually 100% correct about, I think the American people's moods are changing. We don't want a damn progressive being in office, because they're very, very weak. Biden himself is not really truly a progressive, but he's being controlled by that progressive base of support, if you guys know what I'm saying. And a lot of that right there is, of course, breeds a heavy amount of weakness. We're going to cut our oil production, and we're going to allow Vladimir Putin to have his. By the way, wouldn't these sanctions work a lot better if Joe decided to sanction the hell out of China? China is the financial apparatus that's backing Russia. You see, until Russia starts mining those lands in Kazakhstan and Armenia and Azerbaijan, China's buoying his actual economy at this moment in time. So wouldn't it have made more sense to sanction? Oh, wait, that's right. We don't call him Beijing Biden for nothing. He's owned by Beijing. And by the way, don't you just find it hilarious that this idiot decided to give China the intel about the invasion, only for China to turn right back around and give that intel to Putin? Yeah, we've got some really, really, really dumb SOBs in charge of our government. Very, very dumb people. I mean, hell, there are actually Obama people right now on Fox News saying, we don't trust this current administration to handle this ordeal. Like I said, these sanctions are only going to force Vladimir Putin to dig in further. And the mere fact that China handed him that intel only solidifies their partnership more. By the way, that right there is a special video for a special day, because I think this relationship between China and Russia, while it looks strong right now, could eventually fall apart at a later date. And I'll give some actual historical context of that in later videos. By the way, that's probably going to be like part 4 of this entire series, because part 3 is going to be based on the propaganda. But guys, I wanted to go ahead and throw this video out here just to kind of give you guys an idea of what to expect. You see, right now, the Ukrainian president, I have a hard time pronouncing his name, I'm not going to lie to you. He's emptying out the jails for people, personally, who've got actual combat experience. This right here was to be expected. He's handing out rifles. By the way, somebody in the comment section may say something like, well, what good is an AK-47 against a tank? Okay, if you have a gun behind every blade of grass in every home, it makes invading somebody much, much more difficult, if you guys know what I'm saying. It makes it harder. It makes people change trajectory, change plans. It makes people deviate from their original goal. And I think that's what Ukraine has done. By the way, in Kiev, the fighting is about to get much, much more intense. When this thing goes urban, it's going to be way worse. A lot of very, very bad stories are going to be coming out of there. And I will discuss more about the actual BS and the more actual propaganda stuff, the things you've been seeing online. I'll be discussing that more tomorrow in tomorrow's video, part 3. Wading through the BS and wading through the lies. I figured I wanted to throw this out here to give you guys a bit of an update of what is going on. And once again, like I said before, I believe this was going to be one giant proxy war. And I think Vladimir Putin escalating the situation, trying to de-escalate the situation, shows you that maybe it's possible he may not have thought this far out, or it could be a bigger plan, a bigger overall grand scheme. I have said before that I believe that this entire thing is nothing more than a red herring for something later on, preferably stuff going back east, because more than likely NATO is not going to get involved in those conflicts. Now, it is possible that this could be another one of those wars to try to get battlefield data. I don't think it is. Somebody may bring that up in the comments. I'm just going to kind of smash that now. If Russia has lost about 5,000 men, then this entire thing probably would have been viewed as a failure, especially considering the fact that Ukraine has been training for the last 10 or 12 years to actually fight Russia. But don't you guys find it funny that when Bush was leaving office, Putin went into Georgia. When Obama was in office, Putin went to the Crimea. Biden is in office. He goes completely into Ukraine. Trump's in office. He didn't do anything because Trump was willing to bomb the hell out of him. He bombed the hell out of Syria. Even told him the other day in a New York Post article that he was willing to bomb him then. But you guys can see this right here is a result of absolutely weak leadership. And I'll dive more into the propaganda and the BS tomorrow. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Make sure you guys sign up in the comment section. We'll hear you guys' thoughts. And I'll see you guys later.